What's up, everybody? My name is Jack Hughes, and today I'm going to be delving into the problem of gratuitous evil in the presence of a loving God. So first, it's important to identify what gratuitous evil is. This is catastrophic harm that seems as if there's no justification for it. So take, for example, a child suffering a disease such as COVID-19 or a genocide such as the Holocaust. And there seems to be no greater good that comes out of these circumstances. And this appears to be contradictory to a loving and all-knowing God, because if God knew all things, then he would prevent these from happening. If he loved us, then he would wipe out this evil altogether. At least that's what some of us believe. So for the first part, I'm going to analyze some sources that have to do with gratuitous evil and the author's responses to them. In Tsunami and Theodicy by David Bentley Hunt, it was written in light of the tsunami that hit the Indian Ocean and caused much death and destruction. And during these times, people developed a resistance to God, and that's because they put him at fault. But he argues that it's important for us to understand that nature is finite and that these random acts happen. And people often give up hope and look for answers whenever the damage done feels insurmountable. And this is a main point that a lot of non-believers and atheists alike use to try to disprove God, that if he loved us, then he would not allow this to happen. And people forget to consider that Christians see these things too, and they have to iron them out within their ideologies and their faith. So next we're going to look at Everything Happens for a Reason and Other Lies I've Loved, which was a TED Talk done by Kate Bauer. And this came in light of her living her ideal life. She married her husband, had a kid, worked her dream job, and then was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And the irony in this is she had just written a book called Blessed, and it was going into the prosperity gospel. And this is a new development in Christianity in the Western world, which is a very self-serving and self-conceited ideology, saying that if we think positive, then we can manipulate the outcomes and make them positive. And she goes on to talk about #blessed and how we use this as a humble brag to promote what we are doing and to justify the ends to our means. But in reality, it lacks the insight that we really have not much to little or no control over what is happening. And in light of her being diagnosed with cancer, many people came to her and tried to justify this evil and give her reasons for it, such as it being a test of character, part of God's plan, or her doing something wrong. And it took her a lot of time to reason through it and left her feeling empty. But after all these talks, she saw how it made other people feel, and it made her feel love. And the analogy that she used is that even though that feeling of love would go away, it was almost like a tidal wave. And when that tidal wave went away, its imprints were still there, meaning that left a lasting impact on her. So she goes into further detail in her article in the New York Times called Death, the Prosperity Gospel, and Me. And she does a little bit deeper diving into American Christianity and how it's become self-serving. And essentially the main thought is positive yields positive. And these blessings, that we call them, have really just become self-entitlement and justify our selfish pursuits. And that's really because we try to make sense of these problems ourselves. We can't comprehend that we have a limited understanding, and we could try to come up with this reasoning to justify everything that happens. And this gives us the false sense that we have control over everything. So next, I want to talk about a video done by Alistair McGrath titled C.S. Lewis and the Problem of Pain. And this details his trials and tribulations with his faith as he went to war, lost his faith, regained it, and then he lost his wife and had to reconsider everything he knew. And the overarching analogy that he uses is that God is a sunlight illuminating everything. So this light can be symbolized as knowledge, and the darkness, the light hitting the darkness, is us coming to the realization of things. But this light doesn't hit everything, so we don't always realize everything that is going on. And he says this evil is not to prove our faith to God, but it's to prove our faith to ourselves.
This is operating under the assumption that God is omniscient and he knows our faith, but we really need to understand it and grow in it. And another thing that he cites is that God entered this world to suffer. So God is not new to the idea of pain and evil. And it is not beyond the realm of possibility that we are subjected to it as well. So now for the analysis of the sources, there were many similarities found in between them. And that's that all authors go through trials and tribulations. Whether it was observing the tsunamis from afar, or getting cancer, going to war, losing your wife, these are all very unfortunate happenings. Yet they all stay steadfast in their faith, they just have to reason through it, and they do this by reshaping their thinking. So now that leads me into my response and how I view it. I've created a standard form argument, and it goes, firstly, that God came into this world to sacrifice himself, and this sacrifice was the subject of human evil. And we too are subjected to human evil. And if God calls us to be like him, then therefore we must sacrifice in the face of evil. And this sacrifice might have to be our pride, our craving for understanding. So some key realizations that we have to make is that we have the natural desire for reasoning. We want to figure these things out for ourselves, but since we are limited in our perspectives and God is not, then we must trust in him and trust his plan. And if we want to believe in blessings, but we really just want them for self-advancement. We also feel entitled in these blessings, but we need to know that these things are not guaranteed to us. They are only a gift from God. So to not experience evil, to feel justified, to feel happy and fulfilled, these are the true blessings from God, but we are not entitled to them at all. And also, God's existence does not dismiss the existence of evil, and I'll get into that to the next slide. So going into some biblical teachings, we need to identify creation. First, God said that creation was good. It's not perfect. Even though he is perfect, creation is not. And this fall happened whenever Adam ate the apple. And this introduced evil to the world, and ever since then, it's been a truth of our world that we need to accept. We can also look at Jude, and he was an upright man. He had a loving family, successful career, and then he was tempted by God when he took everything away from him. And basically, God takes him on a journey through the cosmos, through the world, showing him all creation, and saying, I created all this. How are you, who are so limited in your perspective, to be questioning me? So some key takeaways is that suffering and evil on earth is only temporary. So if we were to believe in a higher power and afterlife, then we need to realize that this is all temporary and that what is up there is what is really forever. And that evil is just a fundamental part of the world we live in, whether we like it or not. And that does not mean that the bad outweighs the good. We can still see good in bad situations, even if it's not apparent. And we have to reshape our perspective on evil. So we must realize and take a step back that we as individuals and what we see around us, there's a much greater landscape and implications of that, and we must accept that we are not aware of everything. So here's my works cited, and thank you for listening.